This now, Police Minister on special leave, Senzo Mchunu's Chief of Staff, Cedrick Nkabinde, is one of the two witnesses set to appear before the ad hoc committee tomorrow. The parliamentary body is looking into allegations of criminal infiltration within the police. Newzroom Afrika's Zoleka Qodashe joining us live from Cape Town to give us a taste of what's to come. Zoleka, good evening to you. Cedrick Nkabinde, it is his turn to tell his side of the story because there's so much that's been said about him. Remind us what has been said.
That's correct, Xoli. Good evening and good evening to the viewers. And in fact, the last time the ad hoc committee sat, we heard from some MPs that they were looking forward and quite eager for the appearance of Cedrick Nkabinde, the Chief of Staff of the Minister Senzo Mchunu, who's now been placed on leave of absence. And in fact, we've heard Cedrick Nkabinde's name continuously from the 7th of October 2025, when the top cop in the province of KwaZulu-Natal, that's Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi, first made his appearance before the ad hoc committee. And he's told us quite a bit in relation to the Chief of Staff. And you'll remember that he was also the subject of a search and seizure on his premises, on his property not so long ago. And so that is one of the things that will be called into question, or that he will be questioned about when he appears before the parliamentary body tomorrow. So what we expect is that he will be in the hot seat for 2 days. That's Thursday and Friday. And he will first face a series of questions from the chief evidence leader, that's Advocate Norman Arnsa. And what we expect will happen is that his work in IPID will first take center stage. We understand that that's when he also developed somewhat of a relationship with Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi, while Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi says, in fact, it wasn't a friendship that he had developed with Cedrick Nkabinde, and instead that they were just cordial in that regard. And so we expect that that will also take center stage. His qualifications will also take center stage. You'll remember that when he was asked questions by the ANC's MP, that's Kusela Sangoni, around the qualifications that would make him suitable for the post of Chief of Staff, he defended his qualifications, also saying that his experience, Cedrick Nkabinde's experience in IPID, also served him well to serve as a Chief of Staff. But you'll remember that Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi also told the ad hoc committee that essentially when he was approached by Minister Senzo Mchunu for the position of Chief of Staff in the police ministry, he called Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi, saying that he was unaware of what the duties and functions of a Chief of Staff entailed, and asked Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi for advice on what essentially that would entail. And then it is then that Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi told him that essentially it was an administrative a post in which he would assist the minister with his role and functions. And so we expect that will be one of the questions that will be put to Cedrick Nkabinde. But all too important, Xoli, is the issue of the disbandment of the political killings task team in KwaZulu-Natal. You'll remember that when Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi testified before the ad hoc committee early last month, he told the ad hoc committee that essentially when he received news on the 2nd of January 2025 about the disbandment of the PKT team, he sought a shortcut in which he would address this. And then who did he reach out to? He reached out to Cedrick Nkabinde, also saying that essentially trying to reveal or get details about what led to the minister's decision on the 31st of December 2024. And so we expect that that will also take center stage. Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi told the ad hoc committee that he heard from Nkabinde that the minister was under pressure to make the decision for the disbandment and issue the directive for the disbandment of the PKT. And that is what led to him essentially deducing that essentially there was someone behind the decision for the disbandment of the PKT. Let's take a listen.
My initial response from the time I saw the letter was just shocked and surprised that how can he write such a serious letter that is going to have so much implications in the organization. And more concern is that I had already met the minister, and I wouldn't want the executive authority to do things that is against the law. And so I have a responsibility to bring to his attention. But at the time, I felt it is important to use a shortcut because I got to meet the minister before he became the Minister of Police through Mr. Nkabinde. I know Mr. Nkabinde is the office of the minister. He had asked me what Chief of Staff does. So upon seeing this letter, he was the first person I called, because I believe that there cannot be any document going to the minister for signature without his knowledge. So I called him. I said, Nkabinde, the minister signed a letter that says the following. Are you aware of this letter? And his response was, yes, I am aware of the letter. But according to him, the letter was going back and forth by whoever between the minister, whoever was drafting the letter and the minister. That made me believe that the minister is not the author. Someone else prepared this letter for the minister, and the minister signed it.
Now, Xoli, in that specific clip, Cedrick Nkabinde, or rather the top cop in the province of KwaZulu-Natal, that's Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi, says that he got to know or meet the minister prior to his assumption of the role of Minister of Police. And that's a meeting that was facilitated by the Chief of Staff, Cedrick Nkabinde, in which he called the minister as well as the top cop in KZN, Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi, together. And so there were questions also in that regard as to why Cedrick Nkabinde would call such a meeting in which he would have the minister as well as the police commissioner in KZN together. And so the Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi then said that essentially he felt that it was a way for Cedrick Nkabinde to actually show that he was aligned, closely aligned with the minister, and that's before he was Chief of Staff, his Chief of Staff for the Ministry and Police. We're also expecting to hear, you'll remember that when Senzo Mchunu, the minister that's now been placed on leave of absence, appeared before the ad hoc committee, he played a recording in which he instructed the Chief of Staff to record an interaction that he had with Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi after the disbandment of the PKTT, or rather the attempted disbandment, the directive for the disbandment of the PKTT. And in that, he says he previously alleged that there was a threat in that particular recording. He later conceded that that threat, alleged threat, was in reference, and that Cedrick Nkabinde did not press record at that particular point. So we expect that that will also be a question that will be put to Cedrick Nkabinde as to whether Mkhwanazi actually made the threat towards the minister in that regard after he expressed his dissatisfaction with the attempted or the directive for the disbandment of the PKTT. We expect that those proceedings will kick off at 9 a.m. tomorrow with Cedrick Nkabinde in the hot seat, where he will face questions from the Chief Evidence Leader, Advocate Norman Ansah, after which he will possibly face questions on Friday, or if the Chief Evidence Leader completes early, will face questions from lawmakers as they also seek clarity on some of the allegations that have been made against him.